What's happening, people? It's your girl Minna. Welcome back to the channel. You already know what it is. Big up to everyone locked in on this nice, wonderful, vibing Friday evening. And I'm joined by none other than the man in popular demand, Marcel. It's been a minute since we did one of these shows. It's actually been a minute. How you doing, bro?
Oh, Minna, it's good to see you, man. It's good to see you. It's been a little while, man. We usually do a good couple shows, every week or so. But yeah, I've been a bit busy of late, so just getting into the swing of things. Obviously, international break now, so things have calmed down outside of football, outside of the football world. But yeah, man, I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, we were just talking off camera saying it's not been much in the footballing world last couple of days. I like a quiet week for content. It's not good, but just for peace of mind, it's good. United's always in the topic of discussion, so it's nice to have a couple of days of pretty much nothing
Yeah.
to talk about. Obviously, it's been 3 games into the season now. Transfer window officially done. What do you make of the first 3 games before we kind of dissect everything? And I'm sure a lot of people got questions for you in the chat. So before we dissect everything, what have you made of the first 3 games of the Premier League? Because United have lost 2 and won 1, 3 points from 3 games essentially.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately lost two as well. I mean, that Brighton one was quite close. On a different day, depending on how the players were, we could have maybe come out with a win in that fixture. But the overall consensus for me is, that it could have been a lot better. The first game against Fulham, we could have been a lot more clinical in that fixture, but we come away with the win, and I think rightly so. Obviously, the Brighton game now is to and fro in a sense where we had one big chance, they had one big chance. The marking's really poor. I think Ten Hag's overall team selections hasn't been great the first 3 games, but it's the beginning of the season. He has to find his best team. An injury, I know people hate that, and last season we were talking so much about mitigating circumstances and injuries, but an injury to Mason Mount, which I think means somebody that was going to be important, hopefully this season, or had to prove himself anyway. Just him as a player, he had to prove himself to be important to the team.
Yeah.
And I think Ten Hag was trying to integrate him into the team and hopefully take competition. Maybe I would say take Bruno's place, because from what I've seen over the first 3 games, that Fulham game and that Brighton game, for me, Mason Mount brings so much structure to the way especially when we don't have the ball, the way that we play the 4-2-4. But and it showed in the Fulham game, and it showed in the first half of the Brighton game. As soon as Mason Mount comes off at half time, we have Bruno in there, and it feels more like a 4-2-3-1, and it feels very erratic and a lack of space. Like he's so free roaming as the accomplice to the other false nine, for want of a better word, where it's just a bit of scat approach from Bruno. I think he should be playing as an 8 for the football club if we're going to continue with this shape. And then when you look to the Liverpool game, it's just mistake central. Casemiro makes 2 blunders, massive mistakes. Somebody that I think all of us last season were saying he's not cut for this cloth. He's just not ready for this level in the Premier League. But you look back to the game where we really said, okay, we've had enough of this. It was Crystal Palace 4-0. He was at fault for 3 of those goals.
That's when was he playing centre back that game, or was he playing in midfield? I can't remember.
I think he was playing in midfield. I remember Elise going past him. I think for the
fourth goal, when Elise left him on the floor.
Left him on the floor. Imagine he done that twice though. I don't know if it was Elise particularly, but then there's another moment in the second half where he gets pushed over in the bottom in the bottom corner of our literally next to our byline. At the corner flag, and then Elise ends up wrapping it near post against Onana, who again for this season, going back to the first 3 games of this season, it's been very much underwhelming. But it's only 3 games. I mean, Onana's now showing us huge signs. We were all saying it last season in terms of his goalkeeping fundamentals, the way he saves the football, the way he handles the football, all these little things. We're saying, okay, even his positioning. Onana's goalkeeping positioning, and I've said it a few times, I've put a few tweets out on it, but I'm going to say it again. He looks like the Bravo signing. A lot of people saying to me, or a lot of people come back to me, Marcel, you done this, you enabled that. It's your fault why we decided to
get rid of
David De Gea. And I'll take that. I've got broad enough shoulders for it. I know I'm small, but I've got broad enough shoulders for it. It's all right. I'll take that. But it was a step in the right direction. And that's how I'm going to continue looking at it. There was a goalkeeper before Alisson. I can't remember his name, but he fluffed in the Champions League.
Champions League final, yeah. He was the goalkeeper. Wasn't he the goalkeeper in the Carabao Cup for Newcastle against United?
Yeah,
he was the goalkeeper. I forgot what his name is, but you lot know who we're talking about.
Yeah, so that's one.
You know,
A big club in Liverpool, the same thing, you know. And then I always go back to Man City, you know. Karius, yeah, that's his name. Thank you. And you know, and I always go back to Man City. Man City made Bravo before they found Edison. So maybe this is the same thing, and I keep calling this our Bravo signing. It's the 100,000% right decision to have made it when we made it, and it's the step in the right direction. Onana does have good elements to his game, and we've seen that in the 3 games, but we've also seen some really poor basic fundamental mistakes and even lack of communication. That Brighton goal could be, it could be saved, for want of a better word, if he's communicating and telling everyone, look, there's nobody here at the back post, guys, wake up, everybody, hello. Like, he can see the whole picture. Even for the Liverpool goal, that I know it's Casemiro's fault, but he can see the whole picture. He should be screaming to other players that are arriving into the back post that your first job when you get into our box is there's players free at the back post. You know, Onana should be telling, Casemiro, Scott McTominay, look, he should be checking his shoulders. He's not really, there's no one behind you, and players on the field, in the midfield lines, in the forward lines, they have to check their shoulders and have 360-degree vision. But he should be doing 180, just looking, okay, yeah, that's safe on the left side, that's safe on the right side. Little things, 1%, they're making the big difference. And the Brighton, that was that in the Brighton fixture, that's what that was. Because we put the ball in the net more times than they did. Illegally, yes.
Illegally, yeah. Illegally, that's the point.
Yeah, well, but my point is the 1%. My point is,
no, bro, you can't say 1%.
Well, it is. If Rashford keeps on side and behaves and is not in this mood that he's in, maybe he's a bit more disciplined, then he stays on side, and then that legally is a goal, his one, when it bundles onto his back foot. If Xerxes, a lot of people are blaming Bruno because the quality.
Yeah, I think that's Bruno's wrongdoing for that goal.
Yeah, a lot of people are blaming him. I understand that, and I'm losing my bias week by week with Bruno because he can perform for Portugal, but he can't do the right things for Manchester United at the moment, which is annoying me. So it's like, if he concentrates on that pass back, it's clear and crisp for Xerxes to finish. But it's just, he's just hitting it across, and then a lot of people are blaming Garnacho as well. How can you have half of a goal to aim at, nobody there, and you can't put it anywhere else but our brother Xerxes? It's just like, so
he didn't hit at Xerxes. He what's the word? He's like, he dragged it across the goal, but it just happened to be in the direction in which Xerxes was running. And Xerxes is a big guy. Like, one thing I'll say is he can't stop himself from running into that space. And you're right. For that point, for me, it's just any other day, that's a goal. Unlucky with that. But that also doesn't excuse United's inability to see out games.
Oh, yes. But it's also a thing where, people have got this horrible, nasty attitude towards Ten Hag, and anyone that supports them, they want to be abusive, they want to be, disrespectful. But it's like, how is this Ten Hag's fault? Ten Hag has not told Anthony to make an 80-20% block effort and then run outside the box. And then the same person that he's blocked that original first crosses is the exact same brother that crosses it to the back post. So he hasn't done
Anthony his guy, though. We can argue that's his guy. That's the guy that he signed him. He pushed to get him signed.
Yeah. A blunder. Nolito was also, I think, Pep signing. A couple others were also, Pep signings.
Is Pep the benchmark now when we're talking? Because we're talking about, Onana being our Bravo signing. You're now saying, look, Pep made some blunders with his transfers. Are we trying to put Pep as the benchmark when it comes to kind of comparing what Erik Ten Hag is doing? Is that what we're doing?
I guess comme ça, 50%. I'm kind of saying, Mina, that other top managers have made these kind of mistakes before. Other top managers make these mistakes, and it's like the pressure that they get is complete. And it's a bigger club. We're a huge club, way bigger than City. So I guess it's completely different levels, and we haven't been winning things for a long period of time, whereas City were winning things even before Pep came into the door. So and Premier League's at that. So I can understand that, but it's like, we're never gonna, get proper progress if we're just any little thing massive. It's only been 3 football matches. I really do think, everyone wanted structure. We should be like, the malice is coming from the fact that people are not happy that, the processed and they processed Ten Hag to stay. Do you know what I mean?
What? What
What
did
I
you
mean,
say? The process processed and the process made Ten
process
Hag
for Ten
stay.
Hag to stay. Yeah.
I'm trying to make sense of that. The process processed and the process made Ten Hag stay.
Processed for Ten Hag to stay. What I'm basically saying, Minna, is that INEOS, we was calling for INEOS. INEOS. We was calling for structure. And now that we've got INEOS and
Oh
structure,
man, bro, you're too
people are
funny,
so
man.
upset. People were
You're
so
too
upset.
funny. You're
They
too
were
funny,
so
man.
upset.
The
They were so
process processed and it processed for Ten Hag to stay. So you're
upset.
basically saying when we say trust the process, what are we talking about? INEOS? Or are we talking
Yeah,
about
and
what the
because
manager's
that's what we
building?
wanted for 5, 10 years now. We've been saying a manager upon manager. We've always been looking at and saying, look, we wanted structure, we wanted proper leadership above the manager, and now we got that. And now that what you guys were all wanting, especially people like Nereden and structure, these things are here. Their name is in their name. They have that whole name, and
Why
now
are you
that
firing shots at Nuruddin?
so, yeah.
What's Nuruddin done? Why are you selling? Why are you firing shots at him? Because he's called Mr.
No,
Structure.
I'm not firing shots at him. I'm just saying it's they're so against Ten Hag, yeah, and that's why they're coming to the forefront after 3 games with such malice towards the manager, even though they've been wanting structure and a process and some sort of leadership above the manager. It's now come into the fore, and they need to now just take a chill pill. Everyone needs to relax now.
Right.
We were against a really good opponent. Ten Hag made mistakes, like I've always outlaid. So just bringing it back into how I feel for the third 3 games, that Liverpool game was a huge mistake against a big opponent. I was saying, remember, Minna, and on the fourth view, I was saying, why don't we play the counter? We should be playing the counter attack. Everyone was like, no, it's going to be at home. Da, da, da. But I knew that at the end of the day, we're still in that process where the top 6 teams, it's difficult. It's a long day. Ten Hag made massive risks. The way he kept pushing up our fullbacks, massive risks, But it wasn't like Liverpool were playing through us and that kind of thing. We made the mistakes. Casemiro made 2 blunders. It was shocking. People are saying it should be 4 and 5. Well, Martinez nearly made it 4, I think, when
Yeah,
he
no,
passes the.
Martina with stupid pass
Oh,
straight into Salah. Even there was a thing where when Mazraoui came and made like a last ditch tackle, I was at the game, bro. It could have been 5. It could have
yeah.
been. It could have been 4. It could have been 5.
But it was all from our doing. I didn't see Liverpool break us down. There was only 1 minute where Salah ends up having a shot, but it's like off the back of us just
But
basically giving up.
this is where my argument is and it's a question to everyone. Do you think that it was more off the back of our errors, or because the way Liverpool set up forced Man United to make errors? The way that Liverpool set up, in particular, like for example, the two Casemiro situations, right? They came with a plan to target Casemiro. Don't you need to acknowledge that a manager spent a couple of games analyzing the way that Erik Ten Hag sets his team up and came and countered that within the first couple minutes of the first half? It wasn't even, I'm not talking about the first goal. The first couple minutes, they applied pressure and got the ball and was creating chances. So arguably, I would say that Liverpool were able, it wasn't fully Man United's wrongdoing. It was because pressure is, I don't want to say it's a style of play, but it's a game plan. Targeting certain people is a game plan. So they
Yeah.
target Man United's backline when they're trying to build up. They target the backline passing to Casemiro because they know Casemiro is a bit erratic, or he might not be able to, play the pass that he needs. That is targeted.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying. I think when you have possession of the football, your responsibility for the tempo and the progression, the flow of the game is on that club. So in all these instances, we had the football.
Yeah.
And we were in well, we weren't always in numerical superiority, but in the second moment, the one where he gets pickpocketed, we're in superiority. There's more Man United players in that part of the pitch than there is Liverpool players. For the first one, he actually has options though. He has a pass out wide. I've seen the other angles, and like you said, he was at the game. There's a pass free, a free lane to Mazwari. There's a free pass in the first action. And if you're playing with quality, then you got a clip pass and 2 footballers in Dalot and Rashford over the 3 Liverpool players that you end up passing to. And a lot of people have the audacity to blame Kobe for this action. When Kobe looks like he's putting out his hand, telling him, chill on the ball. You can take 3 or 4 touches in this moment. So it's like the decision making from Casemiro at this level, it's not good enough. He's been playing. It's like he's almost. It's like for 17 of the games in the Spanish league, he can play, with a cup of tea in his hand. But in the Premier League, you can't do that here. Every
Okay,
single
so
game,
you've led
it's
me
shuttle run.
perfectly. You've led me perfectly to kind of what I was gonna bring up about obviously the tempo of the Premier League and Spanish league and even the Eredivisie, etc., is different, right? Don't you think that a manager's system should bring out the strong suits of a player rather than the weaknesses? So, for example, I can look at Casemiro and I can tell what his weakness is from watching him play for Manchester United over the course of 2 seasons, now his third season. Do you think now the manager, in particular, like in this situation, is Eric Ten Hag, should be looking at that and thinking, okay, Casemiro doesn't excel when I play him in a deeper role, so let me not play him there. And if I do play him there, let me play multiple players there with him in midfield, rather than us just saying it's Casemiro, it's his fault. Don't you think the manager's game style should basically bring out the strong suits of players rather than highlighting the weaknesses? Because I can't lie, a lot of the time, in particular in the last 12 months when we watch United, I just think everybody has so many weaknesses. But I don't think they actually have weaknesses per se. I think it's the system that's bringing out these weaknesses. A good system covers up people's weaknesses. For example, right? This is going to be a very crap example, but say you work in a workplace and say you work in IT and you're good at certain stuff and you're not good at certain stuff. What is your line manager going to do? Your line manager is going to give you tasks that you're good at. And the ones that you're not good at, they're going to train you so that you become good at it. So don't you think, in particular with Eric Ten Hag's system, and I'm specifically talking about maybe the Liverpool game, you're saying that United should have went into it counter-attacking, but then doesn't that go against everything? That you're in your third season as a manager and you're setting up as a low block counter-attacking team against Liverpool just because you still haven't figured out what it is the best way to play.
Yep, it's poor in a sense of overall 3 years, and you still haven't figured out where you're at, where the direction, or you haven't established the direction of travel. I think the direction of travel is kind of clear. Ten Hag mentioned about being one of the best pressing and transitional teams, and in the second season as well, for a lot of periods, that's what we were kind of seeing or attempting to see. But we have to put into context where we're at as a football club. We weren't winning things in the first season. He brings that to us, and we were playing. We thought we was going to go into a possession world or a world of control, and he mentioned those kind of buzzwords in the first season, and he tried his best to get that, and then went conservative and Ole ball-esque. The second season, I don't even like to use it for data, statistics, figures, but we do. But it's decimated by injury. So the foundations that you can build and take and extract from that season, I think, are very minimal, because you've got Martial there, you've got this player there that doesn't play, 13 different, 13, I think it could be more different centre-back combinations, and backline. It's just crazy what you can really extract from that season. And then you get a third season where we've got a little bit of residual from that. Again, I think we start the season with only one striker, a new one this time, because Højlund gets injured for us, unfortunately. Last season we couldn't get Højlund, and Rashford was the acting only striker at the football club because Martial was injured for periods of time or whatever it was. So it's like we're in a difficult. Ten Hag's told us we're not ready. Imagine that. Like
Bruno even said it the other day. He's in an interview with the Portuguese media. He said United are not ready to compete in the league yet, and that's, to me, crazy.
Yeah,
that's the standards that we're at right now, where your captain is casually saying in interviews, "We're not ready to compete." Your manager, 3 years into it, is casually saying, "Yeah, we're nowhere near competing." Is that? I don't know. I feel like that's not good, but that's just my opinion.
It's not good. I think he's being honest, though. I think he's trying to balance expectations. His command of English is not great. I was hoping that would pick up. I remember saying it a couple seasons ago, just, the way that he speaks in the pressers, and he had a clanger. He had a really, last season, I could really defend a lot of his pressers, because I used to see him as someone that would pick out, just try and be as positive as possible and say, okay, this first 20 minutes was good. And he would focus and hone a lot of what he was saying in the pressers about the 20 minutes. But, we broke down, and unfortunately, but after a Liverpool game like that, you just got to be honest that X player or these player we made, even if you don't want to draw out the player. You just say we made huge individual errors, and we had maybe a good 10 minutes. The first 10 or 15, 20 minutes of the game was okay, but individual errors and heads dropped. But to talk about what you're articulating in that, it's just really, he's missed the trick there. And we're meant to have a head of communications or a communications person that's meant to be part of the club, that's meant to just come into the club.
Bro, head of communications is not responsible for what the manager says in a press conference.
That's not their job. I'm not. I go on, Minna. Sorry.
No, but I was going to say, like, head of communications is, their job isn't responsible for Erik Ten Hag sitting in front of the press every so often. What they do is they train the players to be PR. When people say PR trained, they train the players to give good PR responses. They are responsible for communications with like the Premier League, with like social media, all of that kind of stuff. That is what head of communications does. Now, when Erik Ten Hag or just any manager in football come and sit in a press conference, right? And I've been to quite a few for like women's football. They come with the head of communications that sits next to them and asks question. But they are not responsible for what comes out of the manager's mouth. I've seen women's managers say madness in press conferences, and it can't be controlled. And essentially, I think Erik Ten Hag, I think there's a language barrier between what he probably is thinking in Dutch and the way it's coming out in English. Because in the other day, because like we're talking about that, in the after the Liverpool game in the press conference, someone asked him a question about how United have not really improved over the last couple of years, and then he said to him, well, if you can't see it, then I feel sorry for you. If a manager ever said to me in a press conference, I feel sorry for you, that's rude. That's actually quite rude. And then I don't know if you remember the other one where the guy's asking him about all the errors, and Ten Hag goes, go on, give me examples of mistakes that people are making in my system. And the guy gives him endless examples. And then he starts going on about how he's won 2 trophies with Manchester United and he'll continue to do that. For me, sometimes I get what you're saying about language, because language is a big thing. I do kind of think what he's thinking in his head and how he's coming out, it's not the same.
Yeah,
but that doesn't excuse it.
True. I think he needs to improve. We've seen Arne come in, the Liverpool manager, and come in, and it looks perfect. The language, like the way he's speaking and articulating himself. I think that's nasty journalism. I think I remember talking about nasty journalism last season regarding Sancho. But that journalist that mentioned a few examples of what was going wrong, if you listen back to what he's mentioning, it's the same point but phrased differently. About 2 or 3 of the points that particular journalist says, like losing the ball, then he says it losing the ball differently, or that he says it the way what he's saying word for word, it means the exact same thing.
So what you're saying it's malicious. What are you saying? The journalist is malicious?
Nasty journalism.
Nah, come on, bro. I've been in a press conference before where a manager has kind of stuck it on me, and again, it was deemed as rude, but it is what, like, it happens. I was in a press conference for a women's game, and I asked the manager about their tactics for the game and if they came out with that intention tactically. And the manager said to me, "It's not my job to break down my tactics. You're the analyst, you do it." And I said, "Oh, okay, cool." Say no more. I'm not gonna be like, is someone gonna turn around and say I asked something malicious? No, because I don't think that journalist, I forgot what his name is, I forgot what the journalist's name was that asked that question. And every example he gave, I think, was just to counter what Erik Ten Hag said. Because Erik Ten Hag sat there and said he doesn't think that the system is the problem. And in my opinion, I think when you're sitting there and saying your system is not the problem, you're basically saying the players are. And it's the players that can't implement it. So this is a question to you and to everyone in the chat. Do you think Erik Ten Hag has a system that he's really trying to implement? And who do you think is at fault for what we're seeing in games? Do you think it's the players that are just failing to work in the system, or is it the system that's failing to work in the Premier League?
Yeah, so I think it's quite an interesting point, because like for me, it's always been a case, or not always been a case of, but you set up a system, or you create a system for it to win football matches. I don't think you deliberately have a way of playing to lose football matches. The way the humans within the system operate, that the instructions and the system, is, you're at the mercy of that, really, because they might not be able to create what's in your mind's eye on the pitch to win games. And the way they interpret what you're trying to get across to them, when to do it, how to do it, in what moments, patterns of play. All these things are important over time. And I think Ten Hag hasn't got that precious commodity in time at the moment, but he has to understand the Premier League. When we are building up, I am seeing us sometimes form into a 3-1-6. I mentioned, we need to change that and maybe be a bit more conservative and do a 3-2-5. But I've been mistaken. I thought that INEOS created this 4-2-4 system. After that Crystal Palace game, I saw Manchester United Football Club go into a 4-2-4. In possession and out of possession, I want to say, but definitely out of possession. For those last, and then I think we got a 1-0 loss to Arsenal. We drew a game, I think, to Burnley, and then we won the last two football matches against Brighton and Newcastle, I believe it was, at the end of the season, and we beat Man City. So he started this new season. The preseason looked okay. A lot of people thought, okay, there's a bit of a passing pattern or pattern of we look like there's a structure there, and then he wins the Fulham game in a mediocre fashion. But I felt like there was a way of playing that the players looked like they understood what was going on, especially the way Mason Mount was implementing it. Bruno, you kind of just let him to do the Bruno-ness, so he can play one of the forward play positions and just press however you want to press Bruno. And every other player looked like they were kind of working in a way. Is his team selection is off. He should be playing Ahmad way more than what he's playing. So that affects the style of what he's trying to implement. The way
it don't affect the style. Sorry, bro. It doesn't affect the style because Ahmad wasn't there last season or the season before that. And even when Ahmad was there last season, he didn't really play. So I don't see him dropping Ahmad out being a reason for his style of play being impacted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, if you look at this season and you look at the last few games of last season, the last few games after Crystal Palace, we would have had a right winger. I don't know who it was, but their creativity level wouldn't have been as impactful as Ahmad against I think against City just at the beginning of this season. Ahmad against Fulham. And Ahmad was poor against Brighton, but he's a match winner and a big impactful player. And I think that's what I'm trying to say. You need Ahmad in this 4-2-4 shape. He presses well. He's creative. He can win you matches and score goals. You need Mason Mount in this 4-2-4 shape, out of possession. He connects the play. I think he adds himself into that too when we're building up. If you just watch the Brighton first half, I think he does that. And he doesn't score goals and he's not a clinical striker, but you need a striker. You don't need Bruno as one of the two people in that 4-2-4. Bruno is very erratic when he plays in the forward line, on the last line in the 4-2-4. I think he needs to be one of the two because he can do everything Casemiro's doing right now, but with more legs. He can do the shuttles. Kobe should be playing in the 10. It should be Kobe, and for example, for argument's sake, if you look at what Mason Mount did in the Fulham game, it should have been Kobe Mason Mount up front. If you look at what Mason Mount done in the Brighton game first half, it should be Kobe Mason Mount together. It shouldn't be Bruno. Bruno should be in the midfield, running up and down, doing forward transitions and defensive transitions, both sides. He's got the legs. He can give you 20
you would trust
shuttles.
Bruno to play alongside Cass in the double pivot?
Agate. Because
so yeah, but I'm saying from the last couple games, we have to base it on Cass in it because Cass was playing. So in the last couple games, you would have been more comfortable if Cass was playing next to Bruno in the double pivot rather than Kobe and having Kobe more advanced. Do you think Kobe is the pressing player like Bruno is? And that's a question to everyone else in the chat as well, because I think that's why Ten Hag might opt to play him a bit deeper, because Bruno in the press side is probably at an advantage than what Kobe is. And I think Kobe playing deeper, not necessarily, I don't think he should be a 6. I think he should be an 8 or a 10. But Kobe's ability to progress the ball might be a bit better. I don't know if you lot see it, but Kobe does something so well when he's getting the ball from the back line and he goes forward and he's driving and he uses his arm kind of to shield players away with the ball. I promise you, if Bruno tried to do that, he's getting flung to the floor and the ball's getting taken off him. I promise you that. So I can imagine that's why Ten Hag opts to play Kobe there.
It's so funny that you say that though, because that same fate happened to Kobe for the last goal against Liverpool. Even though I feel like Bruno sees the picture so quickly, he might be able to be more elusive for those situations.
Kobe was trapped in a triangle in that moment. Bruno was on the other side of the pitch. He was in the opponent's half. Toby Collier was in the opponent's half. There was no way you could put the best ball-playing midfielder. They might have been able, a Busquets or someone might have been able to get out of it. But think of Man United's. But I think even Paul Pogba in that at United, he would have got robbed in the same way that Kobe did.
We would never know, but I understand what you're saying. He was out, but you could just play the back pass if you're like I think it was a bit like he hasn't checked the surroundings well enough in that moment.
Let me. I'm gonna grab the screenshot just so we can look at it properly.
Yeah. McAllister's right behind him, and there's a Liverpool player next to him from the person that just passed him the ball. I think it's Mazwari, but you can just play a bounce pass back to Mazwari, and we go out the other way. It's just those little decisions. You're young, so I don't even blame him for it. And for me, Onana's at huge fault. His covering of the goal, the way he positions that is shocking. It's absolutely disgusting what Onana's done there in terms of protecting his goal. Salah's just got half a net to shoot at. It reminds me of the Van der Sar Messi goal at Wembley. When Messi's kind of shot, it's a very nice, well-driven shot, but it's down the middle of the goal. Van der Sar should save it. Again, when we're playing Barcelona Wembley in the Champions League final. I think Van der Sar should be saving that. It's right down the middle of the goal, center of the goal. And it felt similar. Like when I was watching it, I'm thinking, how Salah scored that? Like, where is Onana? Like, his
goalkeeping is
it's really weird. It's really weird. And I'm just praying that it changes, because David De Gea was kind of a bit up, and not this bad, but it was like he's just a bit nervy. Yeah, so you can play a bounce pass through the line. It's going to be a
picture, guys. Just good context for people in the chat. This is what Marcel's talking about when Kobe gets dispossessed for Liverpool's third goal. And you look at that, right? And you see there's Mazraoui behind him. But look how the Liverpool's front line are ready to pounce. They're ready to run. They're ready to run. They know the ball is coming to them. You got two people in front of Kobe, and then you've got someone on him. So wherever Kobe tries to pass the ball, in my opinion, I think it's getting dispossessed. If he tries a little pass back towards Leach's way, there's two people in front of him. He tries to play it to Mazraoui. Mazraoui's being doubled up on. He tries to maybe turn and go forward to Garnacho on the right. He's getting dispossessed. Toby Collier is nowhere near him. Bruno Fernandes is literally in line with our striker, right? I don't think Kobe could do anything here.
Well, he can take the first time touch to the I want to say byline, but to the side of the pitch. He can take a first time touch into that space. He can do a bounce pass to Mazwari, or he can do a first time round the corner pass. But he hasn't checked his surroundings, which is usually brilliant. He's young, so he's gonna make these little mistakes, and Ten Hag's given him a big amount of trust there to say, listen, I want you to take on the ball when it's on a madness. I'm mad at the walls. There's bare things going off, but I'm trusting you to take the football, and I'm playing this high risk style of football. That's Ten Hag's fault. I would have my fullbacks further back. I would have everyone in our pitch trying to build up and get the superiority and slowly progress up the pitch. But Ten Hag thought that, and this is after taking off Casemiro, by the way, he still thought, I'm not going to shut up shop. I'm not going to be conservative. I'm going to still play the same way, but hopefully there'll be less mistakes now that I've got the madman in Casemiro off the pitch. But he still kept playing that way. And someone that we normally consider as ball secure has made a mistake here, 100%. But I still think there's other situations, if he had checked his shoulders properly, that he could have managed this situation better.
I think in this situation, you have to put the best of the best. You have to put a Busquets there to kind of get out of that. I think, and this is why I say Erik Ten Hag's system will only make players like you can take Casemiro out, but Collier was struggling. That just shows to me, yes, it's Collier's first ever. That's his Premier League debut, I think it was, for Manchester United in the Liverpool game, right? Yes, he's a premature player. He's still young. He's still developing. But it just shows to me that you can put anyone kind of there and they will struggle in this manner. Especially, I think, in this Liverpool game. We can't paint the same brush for all the games. The way that Liverpool set up was different. Like, they had a plan and they stuck to it. And what kind of makes me laugh the most is that they had a plan, they stuck to it, and it's like they knew Erik Ten Hag would not change that plan. For me, as a manager, like I'm not saying I know anything better than Erik Ten Hag, because at the end of the day, he's the one sitting in the dugout and not me. But if I come into a game and I used to coach football games, if 10-15 minutes in, I'm seeing that the opponent is trying to nullify the way that I'm set up, you have another way to play. It's similar in basketball. I don't know if you know, like, guys, in basketball, you run plays based on the way that the defense is set up. So your point guard will put up a finger or shout something out that is like a code name, and you run your offense like that. Football should be like that. You shouldn't have one situation kind of for the entire 90 minutes, because it's very unlikely that a team will play. I feel like for Man United, it's not, this doesn't apply, but for other teams, I feel like it's very unlikely that a team will play the same way for 90 minutes consistently. I feel like games are played in chunks, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how the opponent is set up. And I think with Erik Ten Hag, no matter how the opponent is set up, we will play the same for 90 minutes straight. Do you agree?
Yeah. And it is a bit of an issue. Like in the Premier League, I don't think you can have, the six isolated with so much space in that manner, without somebody, in the opponent's half of the pitch, trying to get a clear passing lane for him, and being a clear passing option. I think that's maybe why he wanted Frankie de Jong, because he can maybe handle these situations. He's so comfortable in these kind of situations. But even him, I've seen him lose the football on these type of circumstances. It's something that Ten Hag needs to change. I think you can't keep putting Casemiro in that situation. That's for sure. You can't do that.
I think we've seen. What do you think, by the way, of Ten Hag's comments about Ugarte not being ready anytime soon, and probably won't be ready for like a month or so?
Yeah, it's just really worrying. Literally, Ten Hag is digging a massive hole for himself. He will get himself sacked, and I have my successor. It's going to be Nagelsmann. Hopefully, we can get him out of the.
You moved from De Zerbi, now you're on Nagelsmann.
Well, De Zerbi's already got a club in it, so otherwise it would have still been De Zerbi, of course. But I had to move from that ship. That ship's well sailed. So
you already got your next manager in line.
Yeah. I'm Man United first, Mina. I believe in Ten Hag. I believe he will still go on to win the Premier League here and plenty of trophies. But at the end of the day, I'm Man United first. So when situations get tough, you was one of the first that brought me to the reality of that kind of thing. I was like Ten Hag. Then you was like, listen, well, you could get sacked here, Marcel. And I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, Mina, De Zerbi. That was like how long was that?
Talking about that, about him possibly getting sacked. I don't know if you've seen the article on The Guardian. I think it came out yesterday, about reportedly INEOS are looking at Erik Ten Hag in a manner that the game model needs to start impressing. Otherwise, he's in danger of being sacked. And they don't give kind of a timeline of number of games. But I do think up until like the next international break is very, very important for Erik Ten Hag, because I don't think it's always necessarily about results. I think it's the manner in which Man United lose games and the manner in which they win games. They don't win games very convincingly, and the manner that they lose is really, really bad. So it's about the game model in the way that Manchester United set up. Do you see Erik Ten Hag kind of grasping what needs to be changed? Because it's been 18 months since United won the Carabao Cup, right? And it's just got progressively worse and worse. The games have got worse. The performances have got worse.
I think it will. I think the weak will kind of wither away, and the stronger players for this particular system will survive, and it will sort itself out in that kind of way. We have better quality than the likes of a Southampton, than the likes of a Crystal Palace, so we should win these games. He's been in the league long enough now. If he keeps making these mistakes, like I said, it would just show that he keeps exposing certain areas of the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at some stage he has to go counterattacking, or against the
superior. Is that the right way, though? Is that the right way, guys? Let me know in the chat if you agree. But I just feel like going back to counterattacking it's an easy way out, and it doesn't show improvement. It doesn't show anything if you just go back to counterattacking football. Manchester United is more than that. Man United are more than just Were we not criticizing Oli for something similar?
Yeah, so I agree with you, but with this system and the way that we utilize it, you can just drop the line further back and stay out of possession, you can deploy this same 4-2-4 pressing system, but just further back. And then it's still heavy transitional. And then what we need, especially against Brighton, you needed somebody to put their foot on the ball in the second half and say, we're in their half now. Let's start passing the football. And that's your Amads. That's your Cobbies in the 10. that's 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 your Cobbies in the 10, and mainly them two. Hopefully Agate, when he gets into the team and they're regular, hopefully Toby instead of a Casemiro. But we need couple players like Azerkse for sure, in terms of retaining the football in the opposition's half. But I think you can still play this 3-1-6-4-2-4, but against superior teams you have to drop the lines back. Real Madrid are very flexible in the way that they set up their football team. Like, they play counter-attack against a team that's better than them at holding the football. There's not that many that do it in the world, but once they come across a team that's better than them, and they know this is a superior team in terms of keeping the ball, they'll just say, no problem, we've got superstars here, there, everywhere, but we're going to counter-attack. We will sit and be disciplined and counter-attack. And I think Ten Hag has to have that humility, and I was hoping that INEOS will bring in that. When we talked about compactness after Crystal Palace, Wilcox came in and that's what it looked like. We were happy to counterattack, but we was in the 4-2-4. That's what he needs to bring against the better team. Yes, it's it's only 3 games, so he might still be. That's what might be happening. Game number 8 or game number 12 against whoever it is, for argument's sake, Arsenal away from home. He might say, okay, well, I just got burnt at home against Liverpool. I'm going to go counterattack away from home, 4-2-4 shape, and we're gonna engage it from the halfway line. We don't know. It's just ludicrous to me that people have all this kind of you're this, you're that, Marcel, whatever. After 3 football matches, it's only been 3 football matches.
Come on, but it's not. I don't think it's about the 3 football matches. I think because of how bad last season was, for me, what would have been a statement from not just Ten Hag, but even like the starting 11 is you come out and you win 3 games on the bounce. You come out and you win Brighton away. You win against Liverpool at home, because United have shown that they can beat Liverpool at home. They've shown it under Erik Ten Hag, right?
Yep.
Brighton for me was the question mark, because Manchester United have only beaten Brighton once, which was last season. Erik Ten Hag has lost every other game. And I think it's not just 3 games. It's losing to 2 new managers. So you're telling me Arne Slot and the Brighton manager, who's like 35 years old or something, have Erik Ten Hag figured out in a couple games into the season? That I think is what it's about. It's not about 3 games. It's about everything in context.
But when I add everything, that's what I'm. So a lot of people are still upset about the process. The process saw what I was saying all last season. The process said this manager can win us trophies, but he was heavily crippled by mitigating circumstances. That's the whole context, Mina. That's how I see the second season, and that's how the professionals see the second season, because they wouldn't have kept Ten Hag if they didn't see it that way. So they said, well, we can't really extract much from season number 2. So we'll give him another season because we know he can get us Champions League. He's done that before. And he can get us trophies. He's done that before. So now you kind of have to give him, a clean slate. Not a clean slate, but you kind of have to say, well, the first game, there's a bit of structure there and you win it. It could have been won by more. The second game, it was a last second loss. Last seconds. It was last seconds. That manager, he's like 31, by the way. He's really young. He's like 31, 32. He's a young manager. But, it was tick for tack kind of game, and we had more chances than them and put the ball in the net more than they did. So it's like we know how to get to the goal. Ten Hag sets you up knowing how to get to the goal. It's just we don't have that critical edge. And then against Liverpool, it's mistake central. Martinez nearly makes it 4. I think Nunes, when he comes in, we make a mistake. Could have been 5. It was just pure mistakes everywhere. Every single time Liverpool approached our net, it was based off our mistakes. And I think playing the wrong 11. We saw after the first 2 games, we're looking at Rashford thinking, Rashford.
I don't think Rashford had the worst game against Liverpool, though. I think in the grand scheme of things, I think he had an okay game. But this is where my question comes to you, right? And to everyone else in the chat as well. But before I get to that, big up to everyone. Let's get 100 likes, at least minimum, guys, because we've got over 100 people here. If you want to join the Minions gang, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content, and of course, you get to support the growth of the channel. You guys asked for it, so I delivered. There's an Eric 10 Potter emoji now that you guys can use after his comments in the press conference. So make sure you lot use that. If you want to support the channel in alternative ways and you enjoy and appreciate the content here, you can send in super chats with your comments, with your questions for me, for Marcel, or just with your thoughts. And of course, something simple like hitting the like button and subscribing. Now, this is where my question comes to you, Marcel, because it's a question I kind of been asking quite a lot, especially like my breakdown video after the game. I looked at Marcus Rashford, and every time he tries to get forward, like he did this thing where he was 1v1 against Trent quite a bit in the first half, and he would hit that touch line, like he'd hit the byline, and try to play that ball across the box that we've seen him do so many times. And after about 20 minutes or so, he stopped doing that. And every time he was 1v1 against Trent or 1v1 against Kanate, where we'd see him do that little, that little shimmy shake and then come onto his right foot, he would just turn around and go back or go central. He'll pass back. And his passing map, I think, for the game, I think it was like 60% of his passes were going backwards. And where I was sat, I swear people were getting so mad just telling him, just go forward. Even if you take a shot and it goes into the flipping roof of Old Trafford, just take a shot, because he hasn't taken a shot at all. Do you think that's him making that decision, or do you think he's been instructed to play in the manner in which he's playing, which is basically finding the simple option every single time you're in a threatening position?
Yeah, I mean, fans, there's been a couple of fans that have suggesting that basically, this has been instructions from Ten Hag, or and I disagree with that massively. I think Ten Hag got one of the most productive versions of Rashford that we've seen, and it was all systems go. You go forward with the ball and you drive at the opponent and you look to score and you be selfish and you be greedy. So, I don't think now he's kind of been instructed him to go backwards on himself and cross over the top. At the end of the day, Rashford is his own man, and we've seen these versions of Rashford under other managers. We've seen Rashford not be the PR that he has is bigger than his actual performance level. That's what we've seen over his duration at the football club. And I still believe the PR. Funny, me personally, I still believe. Yes, he can get 25 this season. Yes, he can.
Yeah, I agree. I still believe. Do
you get it? So I still, and because sometimes you see it, and it's like raw, but it's like this is not instructions. I've been saying it from since last season, man. Any video that when we speak up, I say this is depression Rashford. He's just not here mentally. Doesn't want to play for the football club. And the easiest option, instead of committing your body, difficult challenges, potential to get clamped, is go and pass back the safe pass. Go and do the 40-yard switch. It's so much effort and energy that you have to offer to the game and yourself if you're going 1v1 all the time, looking for shots from distance, all these kind of things. And he got criticized no matter what he does. He's that kind of player, but it's like the weight of being this player with the 10 on your back is too much right now. And Ten Hag's done, I think, the most loyal thing you could possibly do, which is play you into infinity. I think, keep giving you the next option to play, And he's given him a bit of leniency, but he's not been very loyal to him. From what I've seen, there's been times when I've seen, stuff about McLaren giving him pressure and he doesn't want the pressure. I've seen stuff, where, or people have been insinuating that, Rashford and Sancho are boys. So once he saw his boy get, done badly, he's like been dowling tools. He's not been really close with the manager. I've seen all sorts of rumors, but at the end of the day, he's his own man. No one can put the batteries in your head and say, do this, do that. You are your own player. You've got to stand up tall and perform to a certain level. And it's just mental, I think. Mentally, he's not there. And mentally, and then
you think United should sell him then next summer?
I wanted Rafael Leao, I think I was saying before. And people were saying that's a similar type of player.
Guys, maybe this is just my opinion, right? But if you get frustrated with Rashford, you get frustrated with Leao. Of course, he's younger as well than Rashford. I think he's younger than Rashford, but he is he's a frustrating player to watch, because one of my friends is a Milan fan, AC Milan fan, and they have it up to here with him throughout half of the season, and he's not even that much younger. He's only like a year younger than Rashford, or two. He's about a year and a half younger than him.
Well, get me Anaki, not as Williams.
Nico Williams.
Yeah,
Nico Williams. He's never coming. They just gave him a new contract at Bilbao.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, we need somebody that, because Leao doesn't look like some. Okay, he might not love defending and he might not defend. He's lazy, but we've still got that with Rashford. Trent scores that goal after 5-6 minutes because Rashford's not inside.
But even when I've been watching Rashford this season, even like the defensive aspect of his game, it's like I don't know if he's being told to stay high up, but it's like he gets to like, the middle third of the pitch and he'll stop going backwards. It happens all the time. And that's why I'm like, sometimes is this, and I really wish that we could know if it's an instruction or it's just his decision. And the reason why I think it's an instruction, because if you continue doing that when you're being told to do the opposite, surely you would have been hooked a long time ago, right? But he continues to play and he continues to see games out. He got Garnacho got subbed off against Liverpool. I've never seen a substitution get booed like that, because I think everyone was expecting Rashford to get subbed. I think the whole crowd was expecting Rashford to get subbed off. And Rashford stayed on, and despite the fact that I don't think he had the worst game, I look at the defensive side of his game, and if we're talking about Rafa Leao, we're basically it's like two sides of the same coin in terms of the defensive side.
Yeah.
He's not going to get back.
Yeah, but he's not doing it because he doesn't care about the football club layout. Maybe he just feels like maybe he's a supreme forward asset, which I think when he is, in my opinion, I think he is a supreme forward asset. So you're going to get a very productive, hungry footballer that's going to go at the man, that's going to score, that's going to create every single time. Not like Rashford, who doesn't look like he wants to. He looks like he wants to go home and sleep or go home and watch, sad movies. Whereas Leao looks like he's here to play football and loves football. Just defensively, I switch off. But Rashford used to be not under Mourinho. Like when Rashford was first here, he used to be a monster. He just used to run around like a Bruno monster. He would defend for your. He would give it everything.
His body's catching up with him. This is what I say about players when they burst onto the scene at a young age. They peak a lot earlier than people, and they start to regress a lot earlier than people. 27 is when players tend to peak, right? But when you've been playing since 17 and you peaked at 21, 22, 23 was your peak, of course, by the time you get to 27, 28, you're going to start to regress. Your body's going to start to catch up with you. By 30, you're not going to be the same as someone that burst onto the scene at 22, 23, etc. because you peaked early, so it's very difficult, I think, in football to maintain a peak level for like 10 years, unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo or you're Messi. That's the only way that you have a longevity in the sport.
I agree. I don't think that it applies to Rashford. I don't even think we've seen the best version. Or like Rashford is still, he's not 28, 29, 30. And I think, I've seen some, like, I'm not saying he's anywhere near Lewandowski, but them man aged like fine wine, or their football aged and matured like fine wine. As they got older, it just looked more crisp, 31, 32. So I'm seeing Rashford 28, 29, 30 should be where he's just more much. I think this is just childish mentality in my mind. This is just a child still. He's not become a man where it's eat, sleep, shit, football. Eat, sleep, shit. That's what it should be at this stage. And it's like other things are in his world. He should just be eating it every single day. He should be eating footballs. He should be going to the toilet thinking about goals at the weekend for Manchester United. And he's just not here doing that. It's other things. It's being buddies with players that want to disrespect the manager and all this kind of nonsense.
Talking about Jadon Sancho. What's your thoughts on that Jadon Sancho move? I never even got to hear what you thought about it.
I'm so happy he's gone, Minna. Oh, Minna, I'm so happy he's gone. This guy, from time you disrespect the manager, you have to go. There should be no more bye-bye. You should just gone.
Would you feel disappointed if he pops off at Chelsea?
No, because I've always said he's the English Neymar. So I know that he's going to be a very good footballer, regardless. If you give him the keys, the house, the 8 mortgages, the this, the that, then yeah, of course he'll do it, because that's the kind of, he doesn't want to break his neck. You know why he's going to love it at Chelsea? He only has to play twice a week because there's 50 man there. So then when he wants to slack off and do his thing, he can slack off and do his thing. Someone else will come in, and then he's got the reputation. In you go, destroy that game. Like he can play it, he can do it at his own pace. Here at Man United, it's every single day hustle. It's every single day you have to have decorum and respect and professionalism. It's too much. It's like he's not that kind of type where it's like, even though I'm suffering or I'm not getting treated the way I want to be treated, or think my ego thinks I should be treated, I have to still be professional and turn up and show up and be on there until I get my opportunity, and then I can show you that I'm that guy. He's not got that kind of that will and determined to be that guy. And he hasn't proved anything in this Premier League. He's not won anything, so you
Yeah,
should
but
be that.
he's got something to prove now at Chelsea. He's got something to prove.
There's going to be so many players there. He's on the beach, in my opinion. So when he turns up, he will turn up. When he doesn't, he doesn't. Halas. And but he will still do well because he's that good. You know, he's that good. So good luck to him. But I just don't. You know, I want hungry footballers that are just obsessed. And then if they're not getting there, he should have been like Ahmad. Ahmad has been left on the sidelines, according to everyone anyway, last season. I felt like, you know, Ten Hag was just bedding him back into the system. It's a big knee
Nah,
injury.
bro, I'm not having that, man. You know I'm a big Ahmad fan. I'm not having that. Ten Hag had no intention to use Ahmad, but because the injuries were getting so bad to a point you had no one, he had to start using him. I said this all the time. I said, and because this was actually, guys, by the way, reported. I don't know if you lot remember, but last summer, during preseason, right before United went off to America, Ahmad was linked to a move to Middlesbrough. He was meant to go to Middlesbrough on loan. And the only reason why I know this is because I saw an old tweet of mine from last season saying if he goes to Middlesbrough, it's basically like he's not in the plans of the manager. And the only reason why he didn't go was because that injury kept him out for so long. That injury kept him out for so long. I don't think Ahmad was ever part of Eric. I think it was circumstantial. It was a circumstance situation where you know, when you're just there, it's like, guys, you know, it's like, you know, when you want to go out, it's Friday night, Saturday night, but none of your friends are available. Everyone's busy, but you got one friend that you're just like, you know what? Let me just holler at them. They're going to be on going out, you know? So you holler at them, they're on going out. That's literally what Ahmad and Ten Hag's relationship is like. It was like for me last season. He went literally, how long? February, March. He was back from injury in what? December, November, end of November, sorry, he was back. So I think he was just not Eric Ten Hag's plan. And that's why, can I say, he's holding off on a new contract. I don't know if you lot are aware, but he's 12 months left on his contract. He's meant to start talks with United this season for a new contract, right? United want to keep him. But I think playing time is a big thing for him. If he's not going to play, why is he going to waste another year, another 3-4 years at Manchester United? Why is he going to do that?
You know, well, Ten Hag will get sacked. If Ten Hag doesn't play Ahmad for the next month, if Ten Hag doesn't drop Casemiro and Rashford, I'm going to say, he will get sacked. It's really that simple. You know, he will get sacked if he doesn't play Ahmad, if he doesn't, you know, bench Rashford for a month and bench Casemiro for 3 or 4 months. He will be sacked at this football club. He will not survive. If he doesn't turn it into a 3-2-5 in possession, he will not survive. The 4-2-4 out of position's all right, but and I think he has to put Bruno in the 8 and he has to put Kobe in the 10. That's another thing. That's my own personal preference, but he will be sacked if those things don't happen, because Anthony's not doing anything. I think he's got a percentage of blame for the fault for the last goal against Brighton. He should have still been in the box, making sure that it's 1,000% being cleared. You know, Casemiro's at fault for that as well. Anana's been at fault, and these are all his purchases. Ten Hag we're talking about now, so he's got to have
half the team this season is his purchases, right?
Yeah.
Half of the players, can I say, that won the Carabao Cup are gone. They're gone. De Gea's gone. Varane's gone. Martial, he went part of the Carabao Cup team, but he's gone. Weghorst's gone. Sabitzer gone. Palestri gone. McTominay gone. Half of the team that was there during Eric Ten Hag's first year is gone. And that means more than 50% of his players this season are his signings. Casemiro, his signing. If it's not his signing, can I say, like, look at the starting 11 against Liverpool.
Yeah.
If we go back to front, I say probably 70% of the starting 11 is his signing, and the rest is either players that he gave new contracts to or players that he embedded from the academy. So it's people that he gave opportunities to.
Yeah.
Marcus Rashford, Bruno, I would say, was the people that he gave contracts to, and Dalot. Ahmad Garnacho, he promoted them to first team players. Arguably, Garnacho came, under Ragnick, but in terms of regular football, them two were promoted. Everybody else, his signings. Casemiro, his signing. Mazraoui, his signing. De Ligt, Martinez, Onana, Xerxes. Everyone in that starting 11 is people that he's put his trust in. Can I say, by the way, now, Bruno Fernandes reportedly is on the same salary now as Casemiro. He might have not signed that off. I don't think he has really big control over the money side of what players get paid. But he definitely probably put a word in for Bruno saying that he's an important player for him. And that's his captain. For me, Eric Ten Hag, right now, he's on a very thin line. And one result, one loss against Southampton, against Palace, against Spurs, tips him off. And he's basically, for me, fed to the wolves. Because there's no way that Liverpool fans, 3 games into the season, can come to Old Trafford, bop us off the pitch. Mohamed Salah walking around barefoot in Old Trafford. Yeah, because he's like, this is my house. I'm going to do what I want. And they can already see a change in the way that Liverpool play in comparison to how they used to play under Klopp. 3 games, bro. It took them 3 games with the same players as last season. If you gave Ten Hag the team, say you gave Ten Hag the team, if Ten Hag had the exact same team that Rangnick had, yeah, and he didn't get to spend 200 plus in his opening season at United, I promise you, he does not get the same result that he did. Do you get what I'm saying? Slot has come in with the same 11 as Ten Hag, as Klopp, sorry. Arguably, it's a much better team because he's got Mohamed Salah, he's got Alisson, he's got Van Dijk, he's got Trent, right? But he's implemented a new system for these players to play under. They're not playing the same system Klopp was playing, this Gengham press. They're not playing that. If you watch the interview that Alisson did after the game, he talks about those different philosophy that Slot has put in to Liverpool right now. And these men are grasping the game easily. They're doing it simple. They might have challenges, but they're able to do it. Eric Ten Hag, we're in our 3rd season under Eric Ten Hag. And we're still saying, how are we going to play against Manchester City? How are we going to... Imagine we're going into a game next week against Southampton. How are we going to play against Southampton? Are we going to play counter-attacking? Are we going to dominate possession? What are we going to do? Are we going to play this stupid... What's the thing that you always talk about, Ten Hag, when you go long to win the second ball? Turnover, whatever.
Yeah.
All that, what are we going to do? That is, for me, a sign that it's not working under the manager. What does it have to take for, in my opinion, for you? What does it get to? What does it have to get to, sorry, for you to start questioning Ten Hag? Because I know you question him here and there, but I feel like you do a lot more justification than you do kind of question him. So what has to happen for you to say, you know what, this ain't working under Ten Hag?
We have to. There's a lot of winnable games coming up. You know, I thought we was going to win the first 5 fixtures.
Yeah. I thought you said we were going to 5-game
I'm already in that space where I'm questioning. The old Marcel would have given you justifications as to why it's not working right now, and that we need to give him time, and that, you know, there's a lot of injuries. I'm still kind of saying that a little bit, but it's more of a thing of he's made mistakes. I'm going straight into it. The team selection was very, very poor, and you know he will get himself sacked. I'm definitely more in that camp right now, and the fact that he's lost 2 of the first 5 games, which I thought would all be wins, it's definitely there. But I'm still saying it's a lot of, like, for my mind, what we've got as a squad to select from, Southampton should be a win. I think it's SC20 should be a win. I think Burnley's in there, I think, or Barnsley should be a win.
So you think we got the team, the kind of team that can beat the lower league sides, the lower sided? When it gets to the mid-table teams, when you get to, for example, Palace, who haven't had the best starts of season, but we've seen what Palace did to us last season. We've seen what their manager's capable of. They've lost Elise, but they've brought in so much talent. What are your expectations if we were to play Palace, for example, which we do? I think we played them after Barnsley and Southampton.
Yeah, I think last season, I think we used to have Evans in centre-back. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, last season, for me, there's not much we can extract in the sense of when normally, or the season, say when we finished 3rd against Crystal Palace, I would have been expecting a win. I've kind of scribbled over last season, and then now I'm back in that same position where I'm like, we should be beating Crystal Palace. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's like last season, there was not much I can really extract from it. Yes, okay, we got battered, but it was Casemiro. He just doesn't have the legs. Evans is there. So many injuries. There's not that anymore. So you should be going to Crystal Palace away, and it's a difficult ground. Not many teams. Chelsea drew, I think, at home actually against Palace, but it's like you should be getting a draw or a win.
Palace, but Chelsea are in their, what was that? Their third game of the season under a new manager. United are in their third year. Do you get the difference? 3 games versus 3 years.
So for me, it's Mazwari, De Ligt. Martinez wasn't there last season. I'm sorry to say it, but that's like a new signing for me. You know, Mason Mount is not going to be here. Zirkzee is a new signing. Ahmad's a new signing. So it's like a new setup. It's a fresh start for me. I know everyone wants to hate the manager so much and whatever, but he's giving you trophies and it's a new season for me.
Bro, you're moving like Ten Hag now. You're bringing up the trophies. You're acting like Ten Hag now.
I'm trying to let you know that it's like, for me, it's not 3 years. It's like it's 3 games, and I'm not hate, and I've wiped a season out because I know if you like, he's able to get you into top 4. He's able to get you trophies. So it's like, okay, I'll give you those 2 seasons. There's clear reasons why it's those 2 seasons, and this is 3 games. There's clear reasons for me. That's why I'm saying it's 3 games. Because
but do you genuinely think though? Sorry, carry on. I'll ask my question after. Carry on.
No, it's cool. Go on.
I was gonna say, do you genuinely think that you can erase an entire season just because of the injury aspect of it? Because I don't think injuries make an excuse to lose 4-0 to Palace, to lose how many Champions League games did we lose? I can't even remember. We won. All I remember is that we won 1 Champions League game. The manner in which losing to Bournemouth 3-0, getting slapped by West Ham. That run of games from, I think it was October to like December, was horrific. It was traumatizing. Do you think that you can just wipe that all kind of clean just because of injuries? Because you're missing out your backline. Say you're missing your centre-back partnership. That doesn't justify you to lose 4-0 to Crystal Palace. It doesn't, who, by the way, were in the midst of that. That was a new manager that they had. That was only a couple of months into his role. I look at last season and I say, yeah, some of the, the manner in which United lost games last season for me is not purely because of injuries. It's not purely because of injuries, but it is a kind of stamp that I look at and think, you know what, I understand. There's an asterisk against the season. But then you come into this season and you think, 3rd season in, I'm looking at other teams that have new managers, because there's quite a few teams that got new managers, right? And their fans are demanding more than what we're demanding. And for me, that's bad. That's not good enough. That is not good enough.
Well, who's that, Mina? I mean, we want this. If he doesn't achieve these things, he gets sacked immediately. If he doesn't achieve top 4 and a trophy this season, he gets sacked immediately.
No, but then, do you think? All right, let me ask you a question, because I had this debate with Saeed recently as well. Because Saeed said he would take losses if it was improved playing style. You know, if you just about lose a game to a last minute, like for example, that Brighton game, we lost 2-1. I think a 2-1 loss is easier to take to a last minute winner if you played good predominantly throughout most of the game. But there were so many moments in the game where United were 1 or 2 situations away from going down in the game. There was multiple kind of situations like that. So would you take a kind of a season? What's your gauge for progression? Is it trophies? Is it where you finish in the league? Is it a bit of both? Is it the manner in which United are winning games? Because for me, I'm going Southampton away 12:30. I'm bopping them off the pitch. I'm playing Barnsley in the Carabao Cup, bro. I'm fielding my backup players, and I should win that game comfortably. I'm going Spurs, for example, who are in the 2nd year of their process, and I'm gonna get a result against them at Old Trafford because it's Old Trafford. It should be a fortress. I'm going to teams like FC20 in the Europa League, and I'm playing a balanced team that has some changes, and I'm taking out my key players, and I should be comfortable to win it. That is what I expect. But the reality is if that doesn't happen, and we go and play against FC20 and Panathinaikos and all these random teams, and we field a strong team and we just about beat them, for me, that's not good enough. That is really not good enough.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So I want us to answer that question directly. We have to get into the top 4. So we have to amass a certain amount of points. Our goal difference has to be better this season than what it has been over the last 2 seasons. our goals scored and our goals, conceded, and the points amassed. That's what needs to improve. How he does that, I'm allowing him to show us how he does that. With the game model, with the utilization of the players, with the way that he uses the substitutions. But just on everything that you said, when have we been? I don't think we have the privilege of saying we're Man United anymore. The last 10 years has shown us that we don't have that privilege of saying that. Like, we've not won any Premier Leagues. We've not been a team that brushes teams aside. We haven't had, a fantastic B team for an inverted commas to say, we can field this team against that team under all the managers previously. We've had a first team that gets battered 4-0 to Watford under Ole. We've had a team, we've been battered by, 5-0 under Ole, Liverpool. Like, we've been battered for 10 years now. So it's like, when are we going to stick? Like, when are we going to stay? It's stop letting the players off the hook. Like, Ten Hag needed to stay this season. If anything, it was a poor season last season, but if anything, he needed to stay this season so that the players don't get off the hook. We need to still see something from the players. Rashford,
what players though? Most of the players, bro, are his signings. Like, this season, I just named you a whole starting 11 against Liverpool, where 70% are his signings. There's not the only people he's inherited in the Liverpool game, for example, is Rashford, Bruno, and Dalot. And all three of them, he gave them new contracts. He gave them pay rises and new contracts, which means he felt like, and by the way, I'm going to say he gave it to him. It was a choice between the structure, obviously, and him. But there's no way for me that someone doesn't get a new contract without the manager having some input on it. Whether or not it's big input and is very influential, he still has an opinion on it. You know what it's like? It's like, when guys, if any of you are the youngest child in your family and there's a decision being made in your family, you still get to share your opinion. It doesn't mean that you have big influence on the outcome, but you'll still get to have an opinion on it and have some influence. It might not be a lot. That's the same with Erik Ten Hag and the contracts. He doesn't have to play Rashford every game. He doesn't have to play Rashford every game. He doesn't have to play Bruno every game, but he makes those decisions, which for me, I can't back that. Ridwan says it here. He literally stripped Maguire's captaincy and gave it to Bruno. The first thing he did when he came into United, bro, his stamp of authority, drop Maguire. By default, that made Bruno the captain because he was the vice captain. The next season, his second season in, he says, "You know what, Maguire, I'm stripping you of your captaincy." What did Maguire do? He behaved like a professional. He behaved like a professional and said, "You know what? Okay, we can't sit here and be like, we can't let the players off. Half of these players are his players. Anthony, 100 million signing. Mason Mount, we paid 60 million for him. Varane, even though he's gone, Varane was a player that he didn't inherit. He let him go. Martial was a player he didn't inherit, that he didn't sign. He let him go. He was happy to let go of players from previous managers. Luke Shaw is one that we can talk about because he's coming back from injury, but he's got a spot. He doesn't even have a spot in the team. So this notion that we need to stop letting the players get away with stuff. I'm looking at them now and I'm saying, okay, third season in under Erik Ten Hag, you finally have a starting 11 of players that you've been able to integrate into the team, right? You have your own 11. If we were to compare, and I hate doing these comparisons, right? But if we were to compare the squad that Arteta went into his third season with, I promise you they were not on the level of what Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag have right now. It wouldn't have been that. And Erik Ten Hag has spent, I think it's 616 million. That's the total that he spent. We can't use it as an excuse anymore, in my opinion. At what point do we say the manager is struggling to win the fan base? Because in my opinion, and let me know if you lot agree in the chat, I think the manner in which United, even when United win games, nobody's ecstatic. No one's over the moon. Like, people are just like, oh yeah, okay, we won. Because it's unconvincing wins.
Yeah, I think that's off of the back of last season, because of how the season panned out. He was struggling to get some sort of consistency, so it's just been really downhill from there. And then it's gone downhill from the first season. We had the Rashford kind of him carrying us through, and from then we haven't been. And from then we haven't really been able to pick it up in a sense where there's been a level of consistency that we're all happy with. But he's trying to build that now, and we kind of have given him mitigating circumstances for why he couldn't build that in the second season. And now we've just started the process of the third season. I'm with a lot of people can come back to me later on when he finally gets, because he's never going to be here forever, but they can come back to me and say, oh, I told you so, after 10 or 15 games from now. But that's the time that I would give somebody, considering what's happened in the first two seasons. I would say, I look at it after 10 games and I say, okay, well, you need to sack him. There's been no progression.
What would it take for you, not to say sack him, because I never want to encourage anyone losing their job, let alone a football manager. But at what point do you say, maybe what Erik Ten Hag is trying to do is not working?
Yeah, well, you have to see Agate get him, I want to say bledded in, like when you bleed the heat starts to come in. So, he has to come into the squad. I have to see him start making the right decisions. If he plays Casemiro for the next 10 games, then like I've said at the top of it, he will get sacked, and I feed him to the wolves. That's it. He doesn't see it. He doesn't get it. He will be sacked. That's his business. I've already got I'm a Man United supporter, not a Ten. I'm a Ten Hag believer, and I believe he will win the biggest prizes at this football club. But there comes a point where you cannot see through that. You cannot see through that forest, and he's deliberately making poor choices. I would always be playing Toby instead of Cass, in my opinion, in this system.
But he's not ready though. Toby's not ready. Ten Hag has said it himself, by the way, as well. He said Toby's not fully ready, but he still threw him into the Liverpool game because he had no other choice,
Yeah. But I would be doing that instead of Cass. Cass is giving the football away to the opposition. He's been doing that since last season. He cannot run. There is no running. He can't do the bleep test. He can't get even out of level 4 of the bleep test. So I wouldn't do that. I am the answer. Yeah, I am. I am actually the answer to the answer.
Remember when you said you'd make Varane tremble?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. That's not even a joke. I'm ready. I'm waiting for Ten Hag to either put me in the presser or I should be the communicator, or I should be playing on the right midfield. I'm a baller. Anyway, we'll get to that at another time. That bridge will be crossed. But anyway, he needs to make these right decisions. He will be gone if he keeps playing Cass in a 2 by himself. No way. Or Cass can play in a 3. Cobby can play in a 3, but in a 2, it's just you're causing me headache. Playing Rashford into infinity, that should have been stopped a long time. Last season, you should have seen the press on Rashford, and you should have said, you know what? But then again, it's only been 3 games. So maybe he says after game, and he done that against Brighton. He said, you know what? And maybe it was just because Ahmed scored. We don't know. And that would be his massive downfall. Then if it was just because Ahmed scored, I won't take him off. And he doesn't see that. Wait, Rashford's just not been right.
Yeah.
He needs to see these things. And if he doesn't see them, he will go. And halas, he's gone. But I can see why INEOS kept him on, for the same premise that I would have kept him on. And, it's only been 3 games against a team that's better than us. Liverpool have a better squad of footballers than we do. They just do. They have Premier League winners. They do.
They do. It's right. But for me, the Liverpool thing is not about the players that they have. It's just the manner in which they played.
Yeah. We should have played counter. I cannot fault that. That's why I came straight away, because I was saying it to everyone. We need to play counter against. I know Ten Hag plays the 4-2-4, but me as Marcel at the dugout, I would have played the exact same everything but counter attack. I would have kept everyone in our half the whole game, because we can attack the space excellently. We are very good at this. I would have kept the whole game. I would have kept everyone in our half. I don't know why he was playing like that. That's on him. That's Ten Hag's fault, 1,000%. But I wouldn't sack him based on that. He's learned that now. Okay, yeah, with even my new players, I can't do this. So we can't see him make that mistake again. Maybe he might even try and do that against Southampton, but then we have to see the in-game management, which has disappeared from him. He has to adjust it again.
Yeah.
But let's see. I'm worried that if he doesn't change these things, it starts a bad kind of process for the new manager, where the players are just so unmotivated, or they're so far from achieving. Like, regardless of who it is managing the dugout, we must finish in the 4th position at the end of the season. I don't care who it is.
The only way I see the way that I see Ten Hag getting sacked is if United continue to lose games in this fashion, like getting slapped against big teams and then struggling against mid-table teams. But also, I think by November, if Man United are nowhere near top 4, and I'm talking about not just being far down the table, but there being a clear, because I feel like this season, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I feel like the 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 1 and 2 is gonna be, a tight race, and I think 3 and 4 is gonna be a tight race. So you cannot afford to fall out of the top 4 race. You can't afford to. And do you not remember? I think it was in Eric Ten Hag's first season when Liverpool suddenly started catching United, and they just went on a bad run of games. That's how close I think the gap is going to be for top 4. I think it's going to be, you're going to have to expect other teams to start dropping points. Otherwise, you will fall out of that race. If United are not in top 4 by October, for me, question mark, question mark, question mark. Because, of course, the league is not finished in October, but you're going to be chasing the game, basically, for the rest of the season, where it's like we're going into every game. I don't want to be going into every game saying 3 points. It's a must win. Imagine going into a game saying it's a must win against Southampton, or it's a must win against Southampton. No, but that's a bad sign, right? That's a bad sign.
Yes, it is definitely 100%. It is, and I can admit that we're in very difficult times right now. But it wouldn't be a case of you sack him. I don't think that makes sense. For me, he's been able to get a level of signings that he wants. So he must be able to try and go and, at least try and get them to perform. I think he needs a bit more time to, he's like everyone's saying, he's at least a squad, like at least 11 players are his players. So we're going to sack him now. He's finally got the squad of his players.
I can't lie, though. This summer, I don't think they brought it based on Ten Hag. I don't think they brought players based on Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag did pitch for a few players. Apparently, Dan Ashworth did an interview with The Athletic, and he said that it wasn't purely on the manager's kind of requests, the players that they signed. Some of the players, he did vouch for them, but they were players that were always on United's radar. So I don't think... I genuinely think, looking at this summer transfer window, I'm like, yeah, this is a kind of statement summer transfer window. Not because United did well in the window, but also because they got rid of Scott McTominay, who the manager did not want to leave. They did. He didn't want, that's basically saying to the manager, this is our project and you're going to do with what we give you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying. In the same way, I do think Ten Hag wanted him to go at some stage, though. I think, and then obviously Scott kind of does the season that he has last season and really performs, to a certain level where it's like, okay, you're useful in the squad. I think he's for the first 3 games, he doesn't start him in any of the games, so I don't think he wanted him that much, but he's very respectful. I think there's an element of PR to the whole Scott McTominay situation on Ten Hag's behalf in terms of how he has to make it seem, respectful and that Scott's still a useful player, marketable, and all these kind of things. But I don't think Ten Hag wanted him that badly, because he would have started him for a couple of games or so, in my opinion. But Ten Hag has to fix up. There's nowhere to hide now. There's nowhere to hide for Ten Hag. He has to win these games. They're all must win. Southampton's a must win. Twente must win. Spurs is going to be difficult, and I think it's away. No, it might be at home.
It's home.
Yeah, it's home. But Southampton and the other game, is it Burnley? Barnes? There's another Palace. Sorry,
Barnsley. It's Barnsley and Crystal Palace.
Yeah, Southampton and Palace are both away. Difficult grounds, but there's no excuse now. He has to win them. And for me, going to what you were saying with Saeed and even yourself to agree, I don't mind of how they won. Not right now.
So result, it's just the result is the most important thing. You don't care how they win. Smash and grab, park the bus 90 minutes and just counter attack.
I wanted that I've expected a win against Liverpool, but that's how I thought it was going to be. Counter attack. I thought we was going to be in a half the whole game and we're going to win the game. We're going to get the result. I thought that INEOS were trying to make a football club that, depending on the opponent, were very adaptable. I was saying it shows ago, before, to everyone. I thought we're turning into a club where, depending on the opponent, we are flexible with the game model. We are ultra attacking against inferior teams, and we're ultra defensive against superior teams. But it's not like that. From what people are telling me, INEOS have had no say in the 4-2-4. That was Ten Hag's idea, at the end of the season. And, they've not really done much of anything. That's what I'm feeling.
Bro, let me get this straight. So your question marks are on INEOS, not on Ten Hag.
Well, no, they're not on. They're not. They used to be. They used to be, and I'm talking,
Okay.
and that was over the last before the season started. I used to think, well, did Wilcox say that he has to play this 4-2-4, and that because I thought we were told that, they're Wilcox is going to give a game model. He's going to do the game model. That's
We
what I
weren't told
thought.
that. That's not what we were told. It was just assumptions people were making.
Yeah.
Wilcox, if I'm not wrong, is a technical director. He's not responsible for the starting 11 or anything. Dan Ashworth said in his interview with The Athletic that his purpose, Dan Ashworth's purpose, as well as the other people like Umar Brada, Jason Wilcox, etc., their purpose at the team is to take as much work off of Ten Hag's plate so that he can focus on the training ground and the matches, which is what a coach is meant to do. Yeah. I think people were assuming that Jason Wilcox was coming in to make the formation. But if I'm not gonna lie, if Jason Wilcox was coming in to decide how United play and decide the starting 11 and do all of that stuff, he might as well be the coach. Yeah. Let's be real.
Yeah. So, before the start of the season, I had all these thoughts. The first 3 games, I've seen what's happened, and I'm like, no, it's that's not how it's going. Ten Hag is full responsible, and I'm giving him 10 games to see how that transpires, and if he can get the results, you keep him on. If he keeps doing these certain things within the framework of the game model, and the way he sets out the team, and the 11s that he's picking, he will fail within the next 10 games and he will be sacked. I think the proof will be in the pudding there. But in the same and in the same coin of that, these are his players. He has to bed them in, give him the 10 games. If he wins and gets the results there, he buys more time. And that's what I believe he's capable of doing. I think he will do that. I thought he would win the first 5 games, but there's signs that within that he's making the poor signings, and not poor signings, the poor substitutions, sorry, and he's making poor starting 11s in terms of what I would pick. Why is Aaron not playing? Why is Casemiro there? Why is Rashford there? Why was Maguire there? A lot of people saying against Brighton he should have been taken out. Even though I kind of did say I would have kept him because he had a good game against Fulham. Mm-hmm. But, you got to be cutthroat now. He should have learned that mistake. They got to go. So, but it's a bad indictment on how he's managing the side to say we're not ready, one. And it's bad in terms of, his utilization of the squad, that he's still making these kind of glaring mistakes. So I want to give him time. That's just how I see it, and INEOS will do that as well. INEOS, the footballing people have done that as well. So I feel like I'm in good company. It's just the fans are very erratic, very this, very that, this, that, and they don't have the composure that the footballing people and myself have. That's all it is.
I hear it, man. Southampton game, go on, predictions. Actually, we'll do that next week. Yeah. We'll do it next week because a lot might change in the next 7 days or so.
Big up to Bruno and Delo, though.
Bruno and Delo, they assist in a goal yesterday. Big up to Ronaldo, got his 900 goals. That's no joke. Like, that's actually no joke. 900 career goals is no joke, guys. But big up to everyone in the chat. Listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button. If you've been here for an hour and a half and you ain't hit the like button, don't be a disgrace, guys. Marcel, let them know where they can find you on socials.
Well, the channel's now up.
Come on, what? And you didn't tell me. So where's the link so I can put it in the bio of this video?
I'll give you. I'll make sure.
Send it to me. Yeah, send me the thing, and I'll put you in last. About bloody time. We've been trying to get Marcel, guys, to make a channel for ages.
Yeah, the channel's up, so you are Marcel's there. I copied Cristiano Ronaldo.
Aim for the sky, bro. Aim for the sky.
Yeah. So, it's up now. So I'm gonna hopefully have some, shows going up next week or the week after, as soon as the Man United start playing, basically. And Marcel, Mind Marcel on Twitter, Mind Marcel on Instagram as well. Man.
You don't know what it is, man. You know where to find him. You're Marcel on YouTube, and then mine Marcel on Figure. I'll put everything in the bio of this video, guys. Make sure you lot follow him on all platforms. I'll be back tomorrow, inshallah, with daily dose of Mina. Tomorrow, I will also be on Mo's channel as well, Judge Mo. If you know him, I'll be there as well. So I'll post the link for you lot to come through. There ain't much to talk about, I'm not gonna lie, with United. But if you lot are gonna do anything, guys, go to the bio of this video. I have a second channel, my gaming channel. Go and subscribe, because I'm going live this weekend with the launch of NBA 2K. I'll be live on there and on Twitch. So make sure you lot come over, especially because there ain't really much to do. There's not really much football. So we can just game and that. Big up to Marcel. We'll be back again next week. I don't know which day, because, you know, schedules and all of that. But we'll be back as well next week as well. So you lot know what it is. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe, guys. It's your girl Mina and Marcel. Make sure you follow him on all platforms. We're out, man. Peace.